Hey guys, Scanner Danner here with my son Caleb Danner. We are doing something totally different today. Mom's car, 2012 Lincoln Navigator, needs rear brakes, and Caleb's been with me. You guys know that. He's been my cameraman, he's learning all this diagnostic stuff, but Caleb is not a mechanic. So Caleb is gonna do the rear brakes. We're doing rear brakes, rear rotors, and then we're gonna do a brake system flush on this car. I'm gonna walk him through it, teach him how to do it. He's gonna be doing all the touching. I'm gonna be cameraman. Caleb's gonna be the talent. So this should be pretty fun. Let's get started. For the rest of you rookies out there, what we want to remember when we're jacking up a car is you're on a level surface. This is a rear wheel drive vehicle, and as soon as we jack up the rear end of this, the car is gonna have a chance to drift. So you need to consider that.
Yeah, this is sick. I'm lifting a car.
Okay, you're back to being talent. I'm cameraman. All right, son. We need to take this wheel off now. Yep. There you go. All right, so if that's customer's car, he's gonna be angry with you that you laid that down on the ground, and you're gonna scratch that thing up, so turn it around. There you go.
There you go. All right. You just go
Lefty loosey, man. Make sure you're going counterclockwise.
Yep. Wait. What the?
Yep. There you go.
I thought it was set to... How do I do this?
Like you're doing. I didn't think I was going to have the torque to do it, but I'm glad it does. If you're doing this on your own and you don't have one of those, then we need to use a breaker bar. And the problem with that, the wheel's off the ground and the tire's going to turn. So that's something you actually want to do before you lift it, is crack them all loose.
Gotcha.
Or you get somebody inside and step on the brake pedal.
All right.
All right. We're gonna do them by hand first.
All right.
Grab that big ratchet over there.
This one?
No, that's a torque wrench. We don't want to loosen with that. Let's use the other one. Yeah, we should be able to use that.
All right.
And we can use the brake bar if we need to. Exactly. Exactly. All right, so what do we do? We step. You won't be able to hold it. And this is the idea here, Caleb. If you're helping somebody change a tire on the side of the road, you want to crack them all loose first before you jack the car up. Then you don't have to worry about this.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll step on the brake pedal while you crack those loose. And this will be fun because Caleb doesn't wrench at all, so he really is going to struggle here maybe. In his body positioning and everything, it's all important. All right, I'm on the brake pedal.
All right, you good?
Yep. And that flex head ratchet, yeah, you want to keep it straight. Like, don't let it flex towards you.
Oh.
Yes. And then stand up.
What?
All right, get the big breaker bar. It'll be easier.
This?
Yep. Nope, that's torque wrench.
Wait, what?
That's a breaker bar. Breaker bars don't ratchet.
Gotcha. They break.
And you just got more leverage, more torque.
Yeah. Science.
Yep. There you go. Just do that same thing on each one, and then we'll use the battery, the gun the rest of the way. Nice. Might as well get the other side while we're doing this.
All right.
Grab that screwdriver. Oh, come here, I want to show you something. In a pinch, when you're by yourself, get yourself a long tool and then use the seat.
Sweet.
Why you break lug nuts loose before you raise the tire. And that's all you do. Like, you know, some people may be concerned about loosening the lug nuts while the tire and the weight of the vehicle, you know, is on the tire. It's not a problem if you're just cracking them loose. Be careful of your customer's car. Not the greatest idea on this model. Got this plastic piece in the front. So as Caleb's going here, I want to make sure that everyone understands Caleb does not do any mechanic work at all. He's a musician, he's a senior in high school, and this is actually his first real attempt at doing anything like this. So you guys keep that in mind in your comments, be kind. All right, so we got a wheel right now, Caleb, that should come off.
Yep. This thing's gonna be heavy.
It won't be too heavy. Problem is it's gonna be stuck. Yep, it's stuck. So what do you do?
What do you do?
Put one lug nut on a couple of threads. It's backwards.
No, it's not.
Flip it around.
Oh wait, yeah, it is.
Rookies. Cool. All right. So what we want to do is kick the tire. If this doesn't work, we're going to get a hammer and hit it on the backside, not on the rim. But what's happened is the aluminum has galded on the steel on this hub, and that's keeping it from coming off easily. So you want to kick the tire right here really hard, or you got the lug nut at the top. You kick it at the bottom, really anywhere. We just want to jar it, and it should come loose. Give it a shot.
Just kick it. How hard do I kick it?
Well, you don't want to use your toe. If you use your toe, you're going to break your toe.
Yeah.
Figured. Let me show you. So what I would probably do first, and actually it just came loose just moving it. I was going to say I would use my hands and I would do this.
Gotcha.
So these have been off recently. They should come off pretty easily. Sometimes though, when they don't come off, you've seen me do this, I think. I'll take a hammer and I'll actually hit on the back of the tire.
Smack on the back.
And I want to be clear to you guys, we are being safe. We have jack stands under here. Safety is super important, okay? Jack, we never want to trust a hydraulic jack. We have jack stands under here. We're completely fine. All right, so the idea with this video, as we're going here, is, you know, you have a kid and you want him to do brakes on his own, and this video might be really, really helpful in that regard, because I'm gonna be coaching my son through doing this particular job, and
because I literally don't know anything.
you literally know nothing. That's where we're at. All right.
Should we take the other tire?
We don't have to. We can work from this side.
All right.
So open the hatch. Let's get our brake parts out of here. As far as the brake parts we got, we're using Napa this time. I found a kit that Napa sells. It was rotors and pads, and these aren't the top of the line brake pads, but they're decent brake pads, like mid-grade. And I think we paid around $180 for 2 rotors and brake pads, which is actually a pretty decent price.
You told me it was going to be about $300.
Yeah. So well, when we had this in for service, you can see that it had some new components put on. See the upper control arm, Caleb, how that's new?
Yeah.
And then we had an air compressor that went bad. It was under warranty. When they were in there, we got a price from the dealer. It was $380 for, which isn't a bad price, really, considering. 2 rotors, pads, for $380 plus labor. So we were able to do it for around $200.
Yeah.
You figure $100 labor, so that, you know, I mean, 380 is a little bit high, but
Yeah.
it's a Navigator, it's a Lincoln. You know,
Yeah.
we're doing it for 200.
All right. So what are we doing?
So our next step, Caleb, is if you look in here, we want to take this brake piston, this guy right here,
All right.
and I want to push him all the way back in, because we got new pads and rotors going in here, and we need the room to put them in. And so what we want to do, well, there's multiple ways to do this. If you remember, I used a screwdriver and I pried it back. We're going to be bleeding these brakes too, so I don't want to push the old fluid, in this case, back up front. I don't don't really have a problem doing that. You know, this is gonna be to each his own. So a lot of guys, when they compress the piston, they'll want to open the bleeder up, and so when we push the piston back, it'll shoot the fluid out of here. And I'm fine with doing that. I just normally, when I do a brake job, I don't do that unless I'm planning on opening the brake system up and flushing it or changing a hydraulic component. Then I won't open the bleeder. But because we're gonna do a brake flush, I think we'll do it that way.
Right.
So we're gonna take this rubber plug off here on the top and find a wrench, should be 10 millimeter, that fits that.
All right.
The biggest thing about what we're doing right now, that's kind of a mistake, where you have your lug nuts and where you have that rubber plug. We're gonna be losing that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
All right.
Does that fit?
Yeah, it fits.
Is it tight or loose?
It's a little loose, but
It's a lot loose. And
Yeah.
you never want to use an open end of a wrench. Put the box end on it. Flip it around. Yep. That's way loose,
yeah,
isn't
it's loose.
it? So maybe a 9. Did I give you a 9 or an 8?
You gave me 9.
And that doesn't fit, does it?
No, it's
So-
too small.
All right, so 10's a little bit big. 9's too small. Learn your sizes. 3/8 will be a little bit tighter than a 10. It's probably a 10, but that
There we
should
go.
be more
That's a lot better.
And turn your wrench around, because that's going to help your angle.
Right.
There you go. Now put it at an angle where you're actually, the weird part about this is it's facing backwards that way.
Oh, so I need to go the other
So
way.
what you think about is, like, you position your eyes as if you were looking at it and which
Yeah.
way you're going to be turning
Yeah.
it. Or just remember, when it's backwards on the opposite side of you, you're going opposite. Yeah. And your angle and where you are right now is actually very poor, because you're using your kind of bicep to pull where you want to be using your body weight to push.
Gotcha.
So in other words,
So-
let me see if I can illustrate that.
Yeah.
This is a big thing. A lot of this you can't really teach. It's really by feel. But you're like this, which is fine. But you're better putting the wrench like this, and then standing up here and pushing down. How much
Gotcha.
more?
It's a lot more leverage.
A lot more leverage. All right, before we do that, grab that drain pan. Grab that hose over there. Yep. This is a hydraulic circuit. So we're gonna get fluid that's gonna come out of here. Put your hose on there.
On where?
On the end of the bleeder. Use that little piece. Yep.
This?
Yep.
How do I get it on there? Is that gonna fit?
Yep. All right.
Looks like it's on there.
All right, cool.
Now
Go ahead
what?
and loosen that bleeder. Good. That's all you got to do. You can leave the wrench hang there. Cool.
Alright.
All right, grab that big screwdriver we were using. It's not really big, but grab that screwdriver we were using. All right, we want to compress that piston and push that piston in.
With the screwdriver?
Just and we don't want to be, try to get on the brake pad. Try to get between the brake pad and the rotor when you do that.
Okay.
And so, I need a laser pointer.
Here, come with this.
All right, so I want to go like between here and here first and start pulling this way. And then once I have a gap, I want to go between where I don't want to go is on the piston. I mean, you can, but I don't want to mess anything up with the piston. So I want to go ideally between the pad and the rotor, but see, I can't get in there yet.
Yeah, see.
So same thing up top, is I can pull this way You start seeing a
Until
gap
you have
there.
a big enough gap.
Yeah, here, you're up now.
Yep.
You see all the brake fluids coming out too?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, now you got a gap in there. Yep.
So go here.
Yep. And go slow. I mean, it's not do me a favor and put it back in there and pull towards you so I can see what you're doing because your arm's in the way. Put it in as far as you can. And now pull towards you. There you go. Go slow. You don't have to.
Yeah.
You see the fluid. The fluid actually doesn't look too bad considering that it's never been changed before. But we're going to go all the way in as far as we can. It might be. Is it still moving? If it's
No,
still.
it's not moving anymore.
Are you sure?
Doesn't feel like it unless I'm just like super weak, but yeah, that's all it's got.
You want to try going the other way now just to be sure?
Yeah.
Like pushing?
There you go.
Yeah, keep going. All the way in, bud. And now keep in mind, wait, stop. It's a good lesson. Nope, put your hand back where it is. If that would happen to slip when your hand is closed like it is, anytime you're pushing, if it slips, you're going to punch something metal and you're going to bust your knuckles open. So when you're pushing, you always push like this, open hand.
Gotcha.
Like that.
Open hand?
Yeah, because if it slips, then you're not going to bust your knuckles.
You're gonna high five
it's only going to
something.
take you a couple times to figure that out. Okay?
Alright.
Is that in all the way now?
Feels like it. Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, go ahead and snug that.
Yes.
Yep. It don't have to be real tight.
Yeah.
Just snug it good, and then pop that hose off gently. Careful. It's gonna squirt everywhere. Right. Let it drain out. Good. Then you just let that. Nope. Don't set it inside there because it'll get wet on the outside.
Where do you want it?
Just on the ground's fine.
Alright.
Okay, good. All right, next step. We need to take those caliper pins off. You know, take that wrench out of there.
Where do I put it?
It's still hanging on there. Right here
Yep.
and right here.
Yeah.
There's little plastic caps.
I see.
Take those off.
What, screwdriver?
You should be able to pop them off by hand.
Yeah.
Don't lose them.
I won't.
All right, look inside there. Tell me what kind of bolts those are. They're probably Allen keys.
Can't see.
Allen key
No.
or Torx.
Looks like Torx. That might be. Oh, wait. Yeah.
All right. Go get my Allen key socket set or my Torx socket set. Let's see if he's right.
They're Allen keys. I was wrong.
Yep,
Yeah.
those are Allen keys.
Yeah.
Grab a 3/8 ratchet while you're over there. And grab a 1/4" ratchet too, so we can have a little 3/8 1/4" ratchet lesson. All right, hold the head of those ratchets together. And this is for you. When they
See, they're different sizes.
yes, when we say 1/4" ratchet, we're talking about the smaller one. When we say 3/8 ratchet, we're talking
this
about
one.
yep, and that's the head of the ratchet, not the ratchet itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So that's 3/8, and then there's one more here. Let's show the 1/2". Grab that. Put all three together.
Here, wait.
Lay them on the ground. All right, here's your lesson, son. Number one, actually grab my gear wrench 1/4" ratchet that's over there. We're gonna do a little tool plug here. Take that other one out of there. I got this gear wrench set, Caleb, for like really cheap, and I'm really impressed with
Are they
them.
good?
Yes, they are. Very, very fine tooth ratchet mechanism. Really happy with it. But if you look at it, the 1/2" one is all the way to the left.
Yeah.
3/8 in the middle.
Yep.
1/4" on the end. Okay? We're gonna use the 3/8.
Alright.
Get your hand in there so we get a perspective of everything. So you see how long they are. That's pretty long ratchets. I forget what the price is. They are listed. Where do I have them? Do I have them on? I got them from JB Tools is where I got them. I don't even think they're listed on my website yet. Highly recommended. Highly recommended. Go by feel, Caleb, not by sight now. You know it's
I know it's bigger. It's gonna be like
Nope.
this. What?
It'll be third one up. That one. That's my guess.
Which way you went.
But this will be by feel.
No.
Bigger?
Yeah, I knew it was bigger than that. Yeah, there you go. There's one up.
Leverage is key. Keep that hand open. All right, you're good. Make sure that you're all the way in there. You never want to.
Yeah.
Again, you had your hand closed. All right, good.
Open.
He'll grab my battery operated one now. 3/8 drive. 3/8.
3/8. That's this one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Put that socket on the end of that. Work smart, not hard.
All right, just take them out.
Take them out. That caliper is going to fall. You want to make sure. I'd take the top one out last. Do the bottom one first.
All right.
We don't want that caliper to be hanging. All the way. Keep going. All the way. Good. Okay. All right. Now those pins, it should release now. That whole thing should rock back and forth and pop out towards you.
I didn't loosen it all the way, did I?
I think you did. You just gotta pull them out a little bit while you're loosening them. Those pins are still stuck in there. I think they're loose all the way, and I don't know how to describe it to you.
Yeah, I don't
you
know
have a boot that's there, and it's not letting them come out further. You need them to come out of that.
Okay, so what do I do?
Part of what you're fighting are those threads right there. You're already loosened all the way, but the problem is they're still in the brake caliper bracket. So the you know, I might be using the wrong name. This piece right here, call it a spindle, call it a bracket, whatever you want to call it. This part stays on the car. What we're taking off is this part. And so what's going on is those are loosened all the way, but the head of the nut is still into the bracket.
Yeah.
You need to move them out of there. Even if you have to take a small screwdriver while you're loosening this,
Yeah.
and just you know, gently push it out a little bit. What you need to be careful of though, Caleb, is you need to be careful you don't mess the threads up. So you can use the same screwdriver we were using and try it. Are you able to move it?
Yeah.
Just don't mess the threads up.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to be careful.
If you need to, put the ratchet back in there, the battery operated ratchet, and start going counterclockwise with it while you're doing that. It'll pull them right out.
No, this one's free.
Okay, good. So now that you see what you were fighting, you might be able to wiggle that out of there now.
Maybe, unless the other one's doing that.
Okay, let's look at what else you're holding up. It's holding you up. Check out the setup here. Go ahead and wiggle that again and watch this part. See how you're hitting right there?
Yeah.
So that's gonna be, it's not gonna come out here. Look at the bottom. See how it's missing that piece?
Yeah, it'll come out here.
It's gonna swing out from the bottom
and
first.
Slide down.
So it's your bottom bolt that you gotta get.
That one's.
Get that bottom bolt out.
Yeah.
Can you see better now?
Not really, but thank you.
See, I wouldn't do it the way you're doing it, but
how would you do it?
I'd use the ratchet and be cooler than you.
Yeah, well, I got it free, so what's up? Is that a top one? It looked like it was out. What the heck?
So again, you're still hitting here.
Yeah, I see that.
And then let's look at the brake pads. Like they're gonna catch too. So this whole assembly,
it's rigged.
It is rigged. It's gonna fight you a little bit. It's all technique.
I have none of that.
I'm aware. And it's kind of hard to coach you through it when I can't really see what's holding you up. I still think that top one might be a little bit. Don't mess those threads up. What Caleb's doing right now with this screwdriver, I am not a fan of at all. I just don't know how to. There you go.
Got it.
So the key was that bolt, right?
Yeah, it was the top one.
All right,
Wasn't out all the way.
I want to show you something. You be cameraman for a second now. Don't let that hang. Set it up here. What I would have done differently, what you were fighting was this bolt was staying there, right? You were loosening it, and it was pretty much staying in place. Part of that on the car would have been, see if I can illustrate this. What I was suggesting you do was, I don't like prying on the threads because I don't want to mess it up, but what I was suggesting you do is take this screwdriver while you were loosening it and just gently push while you're loosening it, because it's real. Then you don't have to push hard at all. You see how it I'm just barely touching that.
Yeah, that's way cooler.
Okay? All right. When we go back together, it's important that we have these like that. Yep. You'll never get that caliper back on if it's like that.
All right.
And then we're gonna take these pins, we're gonna lubricate them. They slide really nice. That's really important. That's good. Same thing here. Let's check this bottom one. Real nice that these slide like that. I love it. That's great. Okay. We'll lubricate those. These pads aren't too bad. Still got decent life left in them. I could have let them alone. The reason why we're doing this is these rear rotors are warped. If you remember driving the car, we got a pretty bad shake to it. Yeah. These rear rotors are warped. They've never been changed, and we're changing them.
Gotcha.
Okay. So that's the main reason we're doing this, was not so much the brake pads. I knew they were a little bit low. There's a lot more life left than I thought. It's about half.
Gotcha.
You see the wear difference here too.
I do.
And that's going to be more the slides themselves. So what we're going to do, we're going to take these off. This, I'll show you this one. You're going to do the next side. This is going to pop out. Okay. That's one. I actually thought when we were prying, remember I was like, don't pry on the top of the piston? That wasn't. That was the top of the pad. Just a weird design. And I don't know that you got that in all the way. We'll find out.
Got what in?
The piston, this piece here. This one. Cool. See that lining kind of moved away from the pad a little bit, or the pad moved away from the metal. All right. You never want to leave a caliper hang on the brake hose. And
I figured that.
And then when you go back together, a mistake rookies make is twisting, not paying attention,
and twisting that
and
out.
having the brake line all twisted up.
Yep.
Don't want to do that. Even, see, that's good like that. Even one twist, you could really not pay attention and
mess it up.
Yeah. All right, so that's gonna stay up here. We'll put some brake grease on the pins. So we're gonna pop these out, put a little brake grease on the pins, not on the threads, just on the pins. Wouldn't be a bad idea to clean those up a little bit. And then we're gonna clean here and here. Actually, we'll pop the rotor off first and we'll do that. To get this rotor off, we're gonna deal with the same thing we dealt with the tire, which is this metal is galded to this metal. And so we wanna take a hammer and we wanna hit here, right? Being that we're changing the rotors, only because we're changing the rotors, we can actually hit here on the back side.
Gotcha.
If you were not changing the rotor, you never wanna hit on a brake rotor in that area. But we'll try here first without messing up the studs. Don't want to miss. And that'll jar this free, and then we'll be able to pop this off. We'll spray a little bit of PB Blaster around here too, which will help us. All right, spray the hub face of this, and I want to remind everyone that we are changing this rotor, so what we're doing right now is reflective of that. In other words, like putting penetrating oil, we wouldn't want penetrating oil all over the brake stopping area of the rotor.
Yeah.
Obviously, but it doesn't matter for us. Spray the center of that.
The center of this?
Yep.
Alright.
Not in there.
What? You said the center. Oh, in here?
Nope, none of that's coming out. That center bolt, that stays there. The part that's coming out, it's gonna separate right here.
Ah.
So we want to spray right here.
Oh yeah, I see the line a bit.
Yep. Okay, good.
Just like that?
Yep.
Sweet.
And we'll try it the way that you would do this if you weren't changing the rotors. Please don't hit the stud. If you hit the stud, we're going to have to potentially change the stud. And we'll make our job so much harder.
Now there's pressure.
Yes, there is pressure here.
You should have just said watch the stud. No, look.
I'm gonna move. You're a righty. Yeah, I want you to be. I want you to be comfortable in your swing. You can start lightly. Like, just make sure that you're accurate. I don't care about the strength right
I
now.
haven't done this in a long time.
I care about accuracy.
All right. So.
Yes. Yep. Yep. You just hit the stud. I'm glad. I'm glad that you didn't.
And I wasn't whacking it
Part of
hard.
your problem is like your elbow's bent. Like, you don't have. You want your arm straight. You want your arm straight, and then see if my elbow's bent. Like I'm gonna like.
Yeah, I get that.
Keep your arm straight and hit down here.
I didn't know I could hit down.
Yeah, we can hit all in this whole area.
Shoot.
Okay. So you're probably from this angle your best right there.
All right.
Don't hit the stud.
We'll see. Should I hit hard?
Yep. Don't hit the stud. And try to hit square, like your hammer's kind of, yeah, there you go, flat. Turn the rotor and spin it some more, and hit it some more. It's not going to be easy to turn because you're turning the whole axle and the other wheel. All right, hold on. It's actually helpful too. Like, we're hitting way out here, and if this was a rotor we were going to reuse, you're pretty close to hitting this, which we wouldn't want to do. Yeah. You really want to hit it where it's stuck is in here, between the studs.
Where I'm closer to hitting the stud.
Yeah, I'm just making a point.
Great.
Don't hit the stud, Caleb. There it is. You got it.
Yeah.
Nice job. All right, so keep in mind what we have in here. For our emergency brake, or our parking brake, we have shoes inside that are pressing on the inside of this. So now you're going to wiggle the rotor and pull it off, but remember you have inside shoes on this design. So they might fight you a little bit. I saw it move. You might want to smack it a couple more times.
Yeah, I think so.
And you could actually keep that hand where it was and pull toward me while you're smacking.
And just hit right.
Opposite of where you're pulling. There you go. Now you're gonna wiggle and pull. Yep. Nice. Nice. Good job, Caleb. Good job. All right, now one of the things that I didn't anticipate and I forgot about were these parking brake shoes. I have never, since we've owned this car, liked the way that the parking brakes have felt on this thing. They go to the floor and they barely hold. I'm wondering if there's any adjustment we can do. So there is an adjustment. They're right here. And on this design, there's actually a plug on the back side that you can access that. What we would have had to do, if the rotor, if you were fighting it and it wouldn't come off, what can happen is this ends up getting a groove right here, okay? And then, so picture this shoe, which is here, riding inside of here. And if there's a groove on it, when you're pulling this off, you're gonna be pulling these shoes with the rotor. So they would grab and you wouldn't be able to get the rotor off. That's partly what that adjustment is for underneath, is so you can loosen it and pull the shoes in and then pop the rotor off. So there's actually an access point. There's a rubber plug right behind it.
And that's how you get to it.
That's how you get to it from the back side. So you can loosen this with a screwdriver.
Yeah.
And that's actually how you can adjust it too. Knowing that now,
that's sweet.
That's how we can adjust the brakes. But we're gonna tighten those up. It wouldn't be a bad idea, but we're not doing it because of time.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a bad idea to pull this apart and lubricate the mechanisms, like where the shoes ride.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. We're not doing it.
I don't want to.
All we're gonna do for us, because they work, they don't stick. If they were sticking, like on my truck needs all of this replaced.
Does it?
Yes. In fact, I'm gonna order all the new hardware and parking brake shoes without even looking at it, because it's got like almost 100,000 and it feels awful. And
I'll do your truck.
yeah, we'll need to do that. So in that case, you would want to take it apart, lubricate everything, because this is your parking brake.
Yeah.
And it's really not difficult to do, to be honest with you. Yeah, we're not. All we're gonna do is tighten this up a little bit. That'll give Mom a little bit more parking brake action where it doesn't go to the floor.
Yeah.
Okay? So this is the parking brake adjustment mechanism, and then the rubber plug, see the piece right here? That would be gone. We could get that from the back side, okay? And so adjustments can be made without even taking the tire off. We're gonna do our adjustments here. I wanna tighten this up some. I just have to make sure that I'm not loosening it. I don't want to loosen it, I want to tighten it. And I tightened it, I know that because I can see more thread. See the clear thread right there?
I was watching that.
Okay, so I'm not going to go too much. We'll see if we can get the rotor back on okay. And then we can gauge it off of the inside pedal, how it feels. Maybe before, what we'll do is pull the other side apart. Before we bolt the caliper back on, we'll adjust the e-brake to where I like the way it feels. And then we can pop the rotor on and off rather than going through the back side and doing it that way. I think it'd just be a pain. There's mechanisms everywhere. There's all these pieces everywhere. All right, so what you need to know about these rotors, go ahead and take it out of that plastic. They coat them with a rust inhibitor. And you can actually see it on there. You see the...
Yeah, I see the streaks.
So you want to get yourself a blue towel, shop towel, and some brake clean. We're going to clean these off.
Brake clean, yeah.
It dries really fast, so you want to spray it and then wipe immediately.
Yep.
And then also put some on your towel as well. And you'll know it real quick if you have any cuts on your hand. Just saying.
All right.
No, like
more. A lot more?
Yeah, absolutely. There you go. Spray the rotor. No, spray it all the way around.
I sprayed it all.
Yeah. All right, wipe it off.
Jeez, that dries quick, dude.
Real quick.
Real quick.
Same thing on the other side. All right, now before we put this rotor back on, what we want to do now is we want to clean these caliper slides.
What are the slides?
The slides would be the area in here. We want to clean this off here and then up here, and we want to put brake grease on them. And so these aren't too bad at all. Really just a wire brush really is all that's needed. Let me see what I have. All right, so the surface areas, Caleb, you can actually see, if you look close, you can see where the brake pads were riding right here.
Yeah, I see
and right
that.
here. So we want to put a little bit of grease on here. The other thing you want to consider when you run your finger across it is if it's dished in at all. They'll wear out really, really bad on some vehicles. So there's other things that you need to do. If you have a real deep groove here, sometimes you actually have to change this bracket completely if it's like that. Or they sell repair kits on some vehicles. It'd be a shim that would go over top of this. These are not bad at all. And so depending on how bad these are would be dependent on what you're gonna do. For us, all we need to do is clean them off with a, all we really have is a wire wheel. You could use sandpaper, whatever you have. And the tool we're using, let's see, is that, not ideal for this. but I want to be clear, we are being safe. Caleb's got some safety glasses on. All right, so we're gonna clean this area here, underneath here, and then the back side in here. That's why we're using the wheel, so we can put the wheel up like this. I was gonna give you a straight one that spins this way, but you'd never get in this back groove area, okay?
All right.
The other thing too, you'll learn as you go that stuff that can be kicked will inevitably be, move this stuff away from where you're working. Give yourself room to work.
Should I get up here too?
Nope, just right where the, just that flat part right where the where the pad's gonna ride. And it doesn't need to be rust free, just needs to be, yeah, I'm good with that.
That's all right.
And that backside too is going to be more by feel. Yeah.
This should be.
Yeah, I like it. Do the bottom same way.
All right, now what?
Grab our brake grease. Let's show everyone what we're using. Let's get a shot of that. We got some grief over my last brake job and using, you know, some synthetic grease instead of something that says brake grease on it. They were right. You know, this is a different style of grease. It's made for what we're doing, right? Some brake caliper grease. All right, listen, before we go any further, before we grease up that area, I want to talk about these again real quick.
All right.
And these pins, if these didn't slide the way they do right now, sometimes what happens here, especially in the Rust Belt, is the boot area inside here. So you pull these pins out, there's a rubber boot. This actually, you can pop this boot out of here, okay? Mm-hmm. What happens is you'll get rust in between the boot and the outside housing. And what that's doing is it's actually slowly closing off the hole.
Gotcha.
So why are the pins so tight? The reason the pins would be so tight is not lack of lubricant inside of the boot,
It's on the outside.
but rust that has built up around here. And so to fix that, you would pop the boot out. Hopefully you don't rip it. You may need to replace the boots. And you would clean the inside bore area of the metal, then put the boot back in, and that'll fix your problem. Keep that in mind, okay? These are nice, we're not doing that. They move nice and freely. We're just gonna put a little dab of grease on these. In fact, what I want you to do, we'll take that wire wheel, don't wire wheel your hand, and then clean these off, okay?
I'm absolutely gonna wire wheel my hand.
Yeah, well, just, it's not gonna kill you. This is actually a really soft brush wire wheel. It's not really hard. It's not gonna kill him if he touches his hand. Doing good, man. Doing good. You know I'm gonna get crap. Safety. I thought you said safety, Dad. Or your son should be wearing gloves. Caleb, you should be wearing gloves. Right, you got glasses on. So what if he takes a little skin off his finger? I'll make him a man.
This is my guitar hand though.
You'll be all right. You're not gonna take skin off your finger with this tool.
Yeah, but this is like really easy to hold.
Exactly.
I'm fine.
Yeah, get over yourselves. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm good with that.
Yeah, it looks good to me.
Put a little bit of grease on that pin. Let's put that one in. Don't put it on the threads.
Just on the outside.
Just on the silver part. Yeah, wipe most of that off. There's your bent brush that you
Nice. All right, so just along here.
Yeah.
All right.
And it doesn't have to be, you know, coated everywhere, because as soon as you slide it into the rubber, it's going to spread it where it needs to go.
Yeah.
We just don't want it on the threads,
Yeah.
because it'll be an improper torque.
It's not.
And that's according to the manufacturer too. They don't want you putting it on the threads. And for any of you guys watching, the torque of this caliper pin is 30 foot-pounds.
All right, so just slide that back in.
Yep.
Let me take you out there. It's super slippery. There you go.
And then push that back, all the way back out. Have it set where we're gonna put it back in.
Oh shoot.
You're all right. Just push it back in.
Doesn't go back in that way.
Yeah, it's not where you want it.
Wait, where did you say I want it? Oh, where?
There you go. That's where we want it.
Yeah.
And you can see, like, as you push that through, you see how it kind of wiped all the grease off. So you don't really need, you only really need to put the grease, let me see it. You only need to put the grease right around where my thumb is.
Yeah.
Because once you push it in, it's going to pull the grease
slide
up.
It all right off anyways.
Okay.
Yep.
We should make this the thumbnail right here. You know why?
Why?
Because then people will be like, oh, look at this idiot kid with this drill and wire brush in his bare hands. They'll click on it just to see. Just a little bit, Caleb, all the way around.
Yeah. There you go.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, now we want to brush where you just cleaned the caliper bracket spindle.
Wait, say that again?
We want to put some grease on
You said brush.
I'm sorry, I meant the brush on the grease. The grease brush.
Yeah, I thought you meant the...
Sorry.
Oh, good.
And you don't want to go crazy with this, you know, just coat the surface. We just don't want that grease getting on the caliper, on the rotor, you know?
Yeah.
In the matter of a couple of months, this grease is going to be gone anyway, to be honest with you. Cool. I like it. All right, clean your hands off.
Yeah.
This would be where I actually want you to put gloves on.
All right. What are we doing?
I just don't want grease all over this brand new rotor.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't want, yeah, you can take your safety glasses off. I just don't want greasy hand prints on my new rotors. And we can clean them off with brake clean when we're done, but this would be, it is helpful to have rubber gloves in certain circumstances. Remember, we tightened up that e-brake shoe a little bit, so you might be fighting that. Wait, spray the inside of that. We never wiped the inside where the e-brake shoes go. Get that coating off of there too.
Off where?
The inside of the rotor.
Oh, I thought I already got that.
No, where the shoes ride.
Oh, like in here? Wait, what are you saying?
See, those are parking brake shoes.
Yeah, here?
Where do those ride?
Yeah, like...
They push up against this.
Oh, like in
yes.
here? Oh, you could have just said that.
I did.
On the side.
I did. Part of me being cameraman and not being able to point is terminology. We have a terminology. It's like I'm speaking Greek.
Yeah. All right. So where am I cleaning? I don't remember.
I want the
you want this
rust
first.
inhibitor that's on the rotor cleaned off. Yeah, there you go. Get that. There you go. Just wipe that off. Because we forgot to do that. And then that dirt that you just put on just wipe that off too. Good, that's fine.
Sweet.
All right, I'll put that on. Keeping in mind that we adjusted the shoe, and you might have a little bit of difficulty getting that on if I went too far. Went right on, didn't it?
Yeah, feels.
Okay, cool. What we want to do now, being that we're in this far, I want to get this emergency brake or parking brake adjusted to where I'm happy with it. And I don't want to do it on the back side. again, because it has a bunch of mechanisms in the way, the axle's in the way, it's not gonna be easy to do from there, right? So what I wanna do is I want to stop here. I don't wanna go any further. I wanna get the other side where we are right here.
Oh yeah.
And then what we can do is pop the rotors on and off to get a good feel of where those shoes are riding. And then I'll be able to check it with the pedal inside. And that way we can keep popping the rotor on and off to do the adjustment rather than going in the rubber plug.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think we'll do everything we did over here, we're gonna go over there and do
Yeah.
before we finish this side.
All right. For that.
And the primary reason again is so I can pop the rotors on and off and make this parking brake adjustment.
Alright, next is...
We're gonna push that piston in.
That's right.
But this time we're not using the bleeder. I don't care, I wanna show people another way it can be done. And there will be people, to be clear, there will be people that will argue with this. And they'll say, you should never, ever push a piston back in. Let me get a little closer up. They'll say you should never push a piston back in because what you're doing is you're forcing fluid back in this way, reverse flow into the ABS system, and you can cause problems.
Gotcha.
They would be correct. That in theory, that is correct, because if you picture like fluid running down a line, it builds sediments, and then you push reverse flow, you can get those sediments going back up in. I'm not arguing, I won't argue that with people, but what I will say is, Caleb, I have done thousands of brake jobs in my life, and I've never had an issue pushing a piston back in without cracking the bleeder loose.
Gotcha.
So one of these days I'm gonna get burned by that, maybe. I don't care. Push that piston in. Shoot. There's a couple different ways this can be done.
Yeah. Just don't remember where you had me pushing.
Just keep in mind the between the rotor and the pad. You can also do it. There's multiple ways. Let me show you another way too while you're sitting there.
All right.
Is you can actually take the whole caliper. So what we're trying to do is get this pad to go in. Right, your piston's here. You can take your screwdriver and put it into the rotor, and you can pull the whole assembly. Oh, you can pull. You can pull the whole assembly towards you this way. So I'm actually taking this whole housing, I'm putting my screwdriver between in the rotor, and I'm pulling this part of the caliper towards me. And what that does is that's pulling, watch.
I see that.
And then from there, now finish. Because what I did is I created a gap for you. I was going between the caliper. I was pulling on this, between this and the rotor. So pull this whole assembly back this way.
Okay.
All right, so I had you prying this way, right? We can go between the piston this way and pry in that way. Mm-hmm. You can do it from up here, whatever. But what I was doing was in here. I was moving the whole assembly. So I'm on the outside of the rotor now, and I'm pulling. This is actually way easier. I'm getting a lot more just leverage. Okay, so it can be done that way, or you can go back in and you can pry on the shoe. If you're going to reuse the shoes, sorry, not shoes, these are called pads. If you're reusing the brake pads, you really don't want to pry between the rotor and the pad, because then you're damaging the pad. Not that you would kill it. It's not going to damage it to where it's unusable. It might cause a squeal or something, which you don't want. But we're not reusing these, so it doesn't matter. Okay, for those of you compressing a caliper pin or a caliper piston and you're worried about you're reusing your shoes, you would probably want to do it the first way that I showed, which is between the caliper housing and the rotor that way. Now, of course, you can always pull it off and use a C-clamp. There's multiple ways to do things. We'll go all the way out with those.
Yeah.
You might be able to use the ratchet and the screwdriver when you're doing it.
That's right. Where do we
If you don't have to, you can pull that out by hand, Caleb. You can actually see the
I thought I just
end of the.
yeah.
Just pull them out. Yeah, just pull them out.
I didn't know if I was supposed to do that or not.
Why didn't we do that on the other side?
I don't think
they
we could
weren't.
see it
They
yet.
weren't exposed.
They weren't exposed enough to get a grip.
to grip on it.
That was easy.
That was way easy. All right, so same. Pull those pads off there.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Did you see that spark? That was cool.
No. All right, show me the slides on those pins. Do they slide real nice in and out?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
This
So
one's
we
good. This one is a little rough. That's not bad.
Okay, good. So we'll just lubricate the pins. We'll clean the pins. All right, set that caliper up higher. Yeah, good. Right there. That's good. All right, same thing. Don't mess up my studs. Good. Don't mess up my studs, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
Easy.
Hit it like you mean it, man. That's what you did. You know, the difference is, you
Absolutely.
know, it's a lot of this is feel.
Well, it's confidence.
It is confidence, yep, and feel. You got it. Good job.
Let's go.
All right, sweet. Let's clean up our slides. Get your safety glasses on. Get your drill. Wait, can we pause for 1 second, Caleb? I want to talk about this light for a second because I think it's worth talking about because this is absolutely my favorite shop light I've ever had. I have only one downside of this light, and people have said it in the reviews. The battery life is not great.
Yeah, it does.
It's like 2 hours battery life on full speed. If I was working in a shop, Caleb, I'd have 2 of these. I'd have one on charger all the time, and I'd be using the other one. And the reason I like it so much, it's so versatile. I've never had a light where I can just put it somewhere
and it pivots
and
nice.
have an angle and pivot, you know, to wherever you need it. You know,
that's my favorite light we film with.
I'm not a tool salesman, but when I find a tool that I really like, I need to talk about it. This one is absolutely it. So, yeah, you can find this, guys, on Amazon. I'll link it in the description of this video. It's actually on my Amazon page. I don't sell it myself, but as an affiliate, I get a little kickback. So to be upfront with you guys, yes, I do get kickbacks if you guys buy through my Amazon store.
Even pants.
But you know what? Some things need to be talked about. This would be one of them. I freaking love this light.
Yeah. Is changing brakes and rotors the same on, like?
There's variations. Caleb's asking about whether or not they're the same. What we're doing is pretty standard practice.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different designs out there, so you need to do 10 to 20 brake jobs before you really are comfortable
in general
in seeing the different designs, the different variables. 10 to 20 might even be a light number. There's a reason why this field, Caleb, requires for good pay, requires a mechanic to have quite a few years of experience first.
Absolutely.
And I always tell my students 3 to 5 years is where you can expect the money to start really increasing.
Yeah.
It takes 3 years to just
not
touch
be a rookie
things
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And part of it's for you is right now.
Yeah. If I was just changing brakes, I'd just change those, right? Just change the pads and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to just throw new pads on an old rotor, and the reason why, if you look at, I mean, you can, but the reason you don't want to just put new pads on something like this is you can actually see the grooves in this.
The wear.
And the wear.
And the brakes.
And so what will happen, go grab a new pad for me real quick. I want to show you something. This will be a good lesson. So what's going to happen, you run a new shoe on this surface, is show where that's going to ride. You see where that's riding on that rust ridge. What's going to happen? It's not going to hurt anything. It's still going to work, but it's going to squeal like crazy.
Yeah.
You're gonna
until you like warp.
And it might squeal the rest of the time you drive it. This needs to be resurfaced. This is actually dished really bad. In fact, I never even measured it. Can this be resurfaced? I don't know. We're just
that's
changing.
What we did
them.
on your truck.
Well, we resurfaced them and we barely had anything left, if you remember. It wasn't worth it.
I remember.
To be honest, it wasn't worth it. I think you just change them. The way the rotors are priced nowadays, even if you get a cheaper brand rotor. Yeah. So to answer your question, yes, you can just put brakes on someone's car.
But you shouldn't.
You shouldn't. You should do something with this rotor.
Either
resurface it or replace it. Yep.
All right.
As we were just talking about this, what we realized is our brake kit that we got came with new boots. And remember I said that sometimes you need to clean the inside area and because of rust buildup. And then when you do that, you end up ripping the boots. This comes with boots.
Sweet. So we're gonna clean the inside?
I don't know.
I don't want to.
I don't think we have to. We have them for the future. Next time we do brakes, we have them.
All right.
I'm fine. The only reason we're not gonna do that, granted it would be a better, let me just see something here, hold that. No, we're not changing them. And the reason we're not, Caleb, the fact that they move so freely.
Yeah.
It means the inside of these are not corroded and I'm wasting my time. I don't need to do it. I'm saving those boots for another time.
All right.
And for you guys watching, if you have any real tightness in here, you want to take these boots out, and being that we have new ones, no problem. Take them out however you need to. It's probably just a screwdriver and push them out. And then clean that inside bore again. Okay? We're not doing that in this case. It is not necessary. Why? Because of how nice and free this pin slides. Okay? All right. Didn't slow your drill down this time, but that's okay. You don't have to. If you're comfortable with it where it was, do it.
I mean, I'd just rather scratch my hand at a lower speed if it's going to happen.
You're going to grease those pins next.
Yep.
And then we're going to take the new rotor out of the bag, clean it up, get all the rust inhibitor off of it.
All right.
Okay? Yep. All right, before you put that on, I want to adjust that bottom parking brake part again. That's why we went this far, if you remember.
Because we wanted to be able to...
You know, this isn't necessary. Like, we can adjust the parking brakes with everything back together. It's just easier to do right now.
I'm with you.
There's, pop this rotor on, Caleb. Tell me if you can. Too tight?
Yeah, too tight.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay, got a little too aggressive on this side. Feel what this feels like. That's still loose as hell.
It's so loose.
I little bit more.
Yeah. Your shirt's now dark gray.
Everywhere?
Just about. Just need to sweat up the sleeves a little bit more, and then you'll. Does that feel better?
Better.
Let me feel it.
I might want to go just a little bit more on both sides. I'll let you feel okay from where it was. The other thing too is we don't have the lug nuts on yet.
Oh, that's already. I mean, nothing crazy, but like before, it would just glide right down. I couldn't even tell if I was getting it like in.
But without the lug nuts being on, gotta do it now. All right, release it. I think I'm just gonna go a little bit tighter on both. I might have went too tight.
I think it's a little too tight. No,
Damn
you
it.
do have to get it back off.
Damn it!
The thing's stuck.
That was foolish. I should have left it alone and been happy with the better pedal that we had. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, leave it there.
So when you do brakes, Caleb, you want to make sure when you're done that the rotor's not hitting this backing plate. And that's where me prying on that can bend it, and then it'll rub.
Cause friction. And
it'll just rub and make noise.
Yeah, it'll howl.
It'll suck. All right, we're going with that.
Sweet.
All right, next step is we're not doing the pins. So we're not doing new boots. We're just putting the shoes on. Or pads and shoes always get mixed up. All right, so for anyone watching, this last part, disc brake quiet is what we're using. Some people use grease. It just helps with harmonics. You can actually see that these factory pads had some kind of a spray. Maybe that's just part of the back of the shim. Looks like maybe they were coated at one point. But this isn't, I think, critical. These shoes have shims on the back that also aid in keeping harmonics at bay, squeals. But the disc brake quiet helps, and where I'm spraying it, you can see where the piston was on this one. So I don't need to get it all over here. On this inside one, oh, this is plugged. So we are out of disc brake quiet. So I have seen people put grease on these. I'm just not going to do it. I don't know. I know this. The disc brake quiet that you put on over time, it goes away anyway. So we're putting this together without it, Caleb.
Okay.
Basically what I'm saying, Caleb, is we're putting this together without it because I don't have any and I don't care.
I get that.
Okay.
So you just click it back in, just like you took it out?
Sometimes it matters left and right. As you can see, these are all the same.
Yeah.
When it would matter, if you remember from my truck, we had those little squealers that hung off the end that tell you when there'll be a disc brake wear indicator, like a pad, a little metal piece that hangs off the end, that when the pad wears down to a certain level, it'll start squealing on that.
So you know.
So those matter as far as left and right.
Yeah.
These ones don't. These are all the same. So we got 2 for this side, 2 for the other side. You're gonna have to use the palms of your hands on both sides and have even pressure.
How do I use the palm of my
Look,
hand?
this way, 2 hands.
Oh, that was so much easier than trying to use my fingertips.
There you go.
This is my least favorite part. This pin. Just this one. The other one was fine. Just this one.
Oh, that's the key.
What's that?
Clutch.
I missed it.
What we were doing was the hard way.
So we're trying to go in this way, right?
Yeah.
Is that still in the shot?
Yeah, it is.
Go down like this, put it flat, and then watch.
We probably both looked like...
Not good. Don't let that caliper do that on the brake.
Yeah, I
hose.
know. We probably both looked really stupid then.
It's okay. Sometimes, not sometimes, this is the first time I've done rear brakes on this car, so this is a new setup for me.
Gotcha.
And sometimes it's just gotta play with it for a minute till you figure it out and you're like, oh, okay, that was easy. All right, we're gonna bolt this up now. All right, so now we're gonna know whether or not you push that piston in all the way, because now we got new pads and a new rotor, and you might find out that the piston needs to go in further. Remember that it goes top first, I think, and don't spin that,
right.
and don't spin that brake caliper where our brake hose is going to get twisted. So pick it up and hold it to where you think it's going to sit,
Yeah.
and then look at your brake hose. Is that
Maybe
twisted?
this is it. Yeah, it is a little bit.
So flip it 100 or 360. Is that better like that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay, good.
It's okay.
And I think it's top first, if I remember.
It is top
or is it
first.
bottom first on this side? It
Top.
might be opposite.
I don't think it's opposite. I just literally don't even remember how this goes on. This is... What the... Wait, alright.
That's the part I'm talking about now, is we may not have pushed that piston in all the way.
Yeah, I don't... It's like just a hair.
How much?
Significant enough that I'm not going to be able to force it
Okay, you're
on.
gonna pop that outside pad off. I'm gonna go get my C-clamp. I like using the old shoe to do this, but you shouldn't have to push hard. It should go right in.
Yeah.
Real nice and smooth, nice and easy. So now you see the difference of not compressing the caliper all the way.
Yeah.
And if you didn't have a C-clamp, you would be having to use a large pair of channel locks, or you would be hating life right now. Yeah, that should be good.
Feels good. So I just tighten that back up.
Uh-huh.
with the bolts.
Yep, but I want you to tighten that by hand first. So take the socket off of the ratchet.
Where's the...
You never ever start a bolt with a ratchet. I don't think the caliper is seated.
You don't?
No, look at the bottom. Look, your pin's in too. Move that pin. There you go. That's what you were hitting on. So it was never resting on the bottom. You got to do the top first. And now it should be sitting all the way on the bottom bracket that you lubricated. Is it sitting on there?
Yeah, it is.
It wasn't before.
I guess not.
So now your top one should, and you might have to wiggle the caliper housing around a little bit till you find the thread. And wiggling the bottom part like you were just doing is actually helpful in starting the, just like that is actually helpful in starting the pin. You kind of wiggle it back and forth, and that actually helps kind of guide it into the threads.
Where's the, I guess I use this.
Yep, switch it.
Yep.
30 foot-pounds on those. 30. The bracket's 140. So if you were to take this bracket off, these get torqued to 140 foot-pounds. We didn't have to touch those though. Those small pin bolts are 30, which isn't much. Third one down, caliper guide pin bolts is 28 foot-pounds. Okay?
Yeah.
28. That's not very much. How do you know what 28 foot-pounds feels like? You don't. That's why, as a rookie, you should have a torque wrench. You should torque everything because you have no idea. I'm gonna tighten one where I feel like it's okay, and I want you to feel it.
Okay.
Okay? I don't have a torque wrench that's that small, but 30 foot-pounds is not very much. All right, go ahead and feel that. And I'm okay with you tightening it just a little bit more from where you are.
Yeah,
okay?
I feel that. That's
all right,
not...
and you know, with that tool, we can go a lot tighter.
I know, that wasn't
Check the top one too. And then I want you to put your caps back on. All right, and so we're doing something that involves the safety of our entire family. Anytime you're doing brake work under, you know, tires off, this kind of work, if you do something wrong, if you leave something loose, you risk someone's life. And so what I generally do in this case, Caleb, is anything that I've taken apart, and I've said this before, I'll put my hand on it. Let's say that, for example, I did some other work in here. Let's say that we replaced this upper control arm too, okay? And what I would do on this wheel is I would touch every bolt that I've just adjusted, moved, right, played with. So I would go tight, 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 and tight, and then what I do is put the wheel on and one lug nut and move to the next wheel because I know I'm done.
Gotcha.
Then I know I didn't leave anything loose.
Yeah.
We're not doing that now because we're gonna bleed these brakes.
Gotcha.
But before we hang these wheels on here, we're gonna make sure. Something else you wanna do, turn this. Make sure that you're not hitting on the backing plate anywhere here. Make sure that it feels like it's supposed to, right? That in our case, that our parking brake shoes aren't hung up to where I can't turn this. And then there's no rubbing anywhere else. And there's nothing else we really had apart over here, but just be careful, be extra cautious. Mm-hmm. And yeah, look how low the brakes were on this side.
That's really low.
Yeah, they definitely needed to be replaced.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the other side, put the other side back on, then we're gonna bleed these brakes. And again, the reason we're bleeding them, you don't need to bleed brakes when you do brake job. That's not part of a standard brake service is flushing the brakes. We're doing a brake flush because it's never been done on this car.
Gotcha.
Okay, other side. So again, safety, right? If we're working on multiple systems under this car, let's say we're doing front brakes, rear brakes, whatever, we're done here. We're not, because we're gonna bleed the brakes, but I would touch every bolt, right? Done, touch, 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 right? Tight, tight, tight in my head. Tight, and then I'd put a wheel on one lug nut. That means I'm done in here.
Yeah.
Okay, one last piece, Caleb. Spin this. Make sure we have no rubbing anywhere. Backing plate in particular, where I was prying on it, we're good there. Okay, so
this one's good to go.
yeah, let's clean up, and then we're gonna flush the rear brakes, and we're not gonna film the flushing of the front brakes because we have to pull the front wheels off. And
are we gonna flush the front brakes?
Of course.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so if you guys endured my Chevy truck brake job, you'd see that we did the same thing here as far as bleeding the brakes. I'll put links to that if anybody cares to see me fighting through a brake job. I don't do this stuff anymore. I do electronic stuff, but anyway, we were fighting getting the fluid out, and I made a couple of mistakes you guys pointed out to me, which is pretty cool, and we'll try to prevent that again. So I'm putting this in here, and keeping in mind brake fluid will eat paint, so we don't want to get it on the paint. We had some trouble with this tool. Once you start this, and what we were doing wrong last time, that we just kept trying to pump it rather than starting the siphon. So this would have been, I'm gonna give props to one of the guys, because I was reading some of the comments today. It was Tear Down Dan was the guy's name. He's like, you know, that tool's not meant to siphon the way you were doing it. Just start it and then make sure that it's lower than the brake master cylinder, and it will just run out on its own. So from here we're good. And right now we're just siphoning out using gravity rather than, you know, worrying about continuing to siphon. We're using gravity to do the job. I think I paid like $2 for this siphon.
Yeah, I remember when you got it for the, like I said, it was the first video.
I think I have this linked. It's on my Amazon page if you guys are looking for it.
It's pretty sweet.
I bought it from Amazon, I think. All right. Sufficiently siphoned. using a .3 fluid. See the difference in color. This is nowhere near as bad as my truck was. I'm filling this all the way because we're going to be bleeding in the back. All right, so doing this a little bit different than last time I showed, and a lot of this is based off of you and your guys' comments. I learned from you guys, I really do, and one of the things that I learned is hearing your comments about using a container for brake fluid. I'll show you. No reason to talk about it. Let me just show you. I got water in here, so I want to get the water out of this. Nothing like a little brake clean for that, right? We want to make sure this is nice and clean. Do not want water in my brake system, right? That defeats the whole purpose of what we're trying to do. From here, connect this to this. Loosen this. Putting a little bit of clean brake fluid in my container. I don't think this is really all that necessary, as long as if I can drain enough of the old fluid out just on a gravity bleed, that would work too. But the idea here is this is going to allow me to go inside. Remember how we were doing up, down, like over and over and over? You remember that? When we were bleeding the brakes? What this will allow us to do is just use the brakes the way they are right now. So this is open, right? And this is siphoning out, and I should be able to go inside and work the brakes up and down without having to open and close the bleeder, because as it pushes the fluid out, it's not going to pull air back in. That's the idea of having this submerged.
Gotcha. The only thing you can pull back in is fluid.
You're going to be my brake pedal guy.
You want me to get on the brakes?
I do. Just push it down first. And again, this is a higher mileage engine, so I want you to put your foot under the brake pedal. Don't let it go all the way to the floor, okay? Gotcha. And because this master cylinder has 90,000 miles on it, I don't want to go beyond the normal travel of the brake, okay? All right, go ahead, push it.
Push it?
Yep, let it up. You see it pulling the fluid back in. Push it again. Yeah, just keep doing that. This is actually a lot better method, Caleb.
Than what we did last
Well,
time?
what it does is it saves you from having to open and close the bleeder over and over and over again. Now, I will say that on our last couple of bleeds, we're going to do the bleeder method. But on this one, until I see clear fluid coming out, I just want you to keep doing that. Just keep pumping the brake. One more. All right, good. I gotta say, guys, that was way better. Thank you for the suggestions. Last couple, we're gonna do the regular way. Your pedal is up right now, right, Caleb?
Up.
Get some clear fluid in here. All right, push it down, hold it. Up. Down. Up. Down. Up. All right, cool. This side's done.
Go up?
Yeah, you can let it up. Cool. Let's do the other side. Stand next, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm taller than you because I'm on a hill. I'm not really taller than him anymore. Okay guys, I apologize for this last clip. We actually lost some footage after we bled the left rear
wheel, and we continued to do the other ones. We lost battery and we shot for 20 more minutes with a black screen. So we lost all that footage. We finished the car. You will see Caleb torquing the wheels right here in this little clip, which is nice because we are practicing safety. I'm teaching my son how to do brakes, and you know, we talked about torquing the pins for the caliper, and then also torquing the wheels again as you're looking at. So I think we've given you enough though as far as bleeding the brakes. It was pretty straightforward. The last comment that I can think of would be when I adjusted those emergency brake or parking brake shoes. I believe getting to the hole on the backing plate would be a lot easier on a lift because the car's up in the air and then you're right underneath the tire, and where I was next to impossible.
Yeah.
So the adjustments I was making as I was pulling the rotor on and off and then feeling the play in it can actually be done on a lift while you're spinning the tire, and then you crank that screw or that piece, and they actually sell tools for that, Caleb. I believe they're called lady slippers. You ever see one of those tools like that you put your shoe on with? You ever see it's like a hooked like piece of, they make those for that type of thing. It's like a bent spoon, like a bent screwdriver that would go in that hole and then would give me the angle that I could move the gears. What? Yeah, so I'm not sure if that's the case on this, weird. But they make special tools for stuff like that. So any tools that you guys were interested in, keep in mind my Amazon page and my tool page on my website. You'll find those links in the description of this video. It helps us pay the bills, and it also, again, provides you guys with an idea of what tools you may want or may, you know, want a recommendation on, like for the flashlight, for example. So again, the flashlight for me was ideal. We're about to lose this canopy. The flashlight is ideal for me because I do kind of 2-hour segments. Yeah. I'm not working all day, and so my reviews. A little windy here today.
I'll hold it here.
My reviews reflect that. So I just wanted to mention that about the flashlight. I give it a 5-star rating, but I'm not one who's working in the shop all day long and hating the battery life of it, because the battery life of it sucks. But for me, I use it for a diagnostic job. I plug it into my truck and it charges in between the times of me going to the next job or whatever, and it works perfectly. So I don't know, that's enough rant about the tools. Special thanks to Caleb. I think you did a good job on the brakes, and it feels good. So good job. We didn't kill Mom or anything yet. So nice job. Thank you, Caleb. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next time. All right, cool. Okay, we're rolling. Over here.
Good.
He's taller than me. That sucks. It's because I shrunk. Why am I on camera?
I don't know.
I'm all sweaty. Shirt showing it. It's gross.
I'm so much better at this.
What? Jacking off?